Hi everyone, this is Nelson Lyman, and I'm here today to show you guys the progress on the Cloudscape Seasons 1.5, and actually it might go 1.6 since there are a couple of things that I want to add to the project, and this makes it a little bit more interesting. And just to show the things different we have here when compared with the older releases, of course is the cloud shapes that are more interesting, and it is based on some Epic's work regarding how to deal with the noise for given the shapes. And my shader have the ability to create 3 layers, as you guys can see in this current project here. We are in 4.17, and I have introduced some new parameters, like ability to invert textures and add pad texels to the slices, so you cannot see seams because we are using here pseudo volume textures. We can use also the feature engine full 3D volume textures that requires Unreal Engine 4.21. The shaders now have you have the ability to change here each Unreal Engine release you are using, so the shader will configure itself using the correct values and features from the engine. Texture 3D, as I have said, it started with 4.21. Let me just open here. You can set here the amount of layers you want to use, 1, 2, or 3 layers. It's very recommended that you use more than one cloud layer at 421, because the real volumetric textures that are hardware based, they perform a lot better than the pseudo volume textures. And the sky atmosphere, if you set it here, I have stated that maybe 425 it's better to use because there are some coloring issues that I don't think it's worth, and the BP Sky Seasons gives enough details for the sky based on the sunlight position. So, well, features that I have included it in Cloudscape Pure. When you are using the Cloudscape mesh as a sphere shape, so you use the sphere renderer. So you have cube, dome, and sphere, and so this will be the planet radius when you are using the sphere, and the atmosphere thickness is the amount of atmosphere you have from the planet to the space. Okay, so when you are leaving the atmosphere, when you start to see black instead of blue, it will be this thickness I am mentioning here. It just makes sense mostly when you're using the sphere shape. We have sky seasons also now included the planet radius and atmosphere thickness. And I have made here a blueprint that for now just require the planet radius and it is supposed to draw a planet. This material for the planet is using tessellation because, as you guys know, there are no perfect sphere when you're talking about 3D rendering, because a sphere is composed of a lot of shapes. So the larger the sphere, more noticeable are the faces that composes the sphere. So what I have made is I have placed this huge sphere, it is the planet here, above the landscape, below the landscape. And the correct way for us to make this is using a bending on the vertex for the landscape material, so it will like follow the curvature for this sphere. And you also make a way that the edges for the landscape is like at 0, instead of like leaving these holes behind, so you'd like perfectly touch the planet surface. And as you guys can see, this is a 20 kilometers square terrain. The 2K texture for this map here, and the planet is huge. Okay, it is the real Earth size inside Unreal Engine. So if I take like very far view, actually we can do this way as well. You see that you got the horizon, you can still go inside the clouds. Okay, and this is a sorting issue I still have to fix, because we are having it is highlighted because it is adding the content for behind, so the material that should be hand aligned. I have to make then also with more density. So, and there you go. There is a very big sphere that you can see your cloud from the very top. So now for flying simulation, it is like easy to go. I don't have more to move the cloudscape where you have like your airplane moving along, because now you have the only thing that you should care about now is how to make the gravity and a sphere with the appropriate collision. That is not this case here. You need something like a voxel world that already think it is and have a better performance. This here is not a good performance, because this is a really high tessellation here to make this smooth. You can see the facets for the mesh, so it's not appropriate to do the way I'm doing. But it's just to showcase how the clouds are shaped around the planet, and just you guys to see, you can have the more the rays you have, the more the amount of clouds it can show of course the performance is taxed as well, but you can like have from the top with 32 haze we still can see quite some clouds for the amount of coverage we have, but from the ground I can see a lot more clouds. They are not very tall, okay, so as I am increasing, and this is very good for performance reasons because you can really fine tweak, and even with few rays I still have some very interesting shapes. So 128 is like the minimum for the ground view, and 256 it's like looks like the same, but it's not true when you're talking about the horizon. Check the horizon. You see there are some gaps just appeared, and if I click on this Cloudscape here and I type F, so here we have our planet. You can see that the clouds cover all the surface. Actor, I left an actor here just for the sake to see. Anticipated at 500,000 units, 5 million. There you go. Now we are really atop of the planet. You can see that our clouds are covering, and the dark, of course, some repetition. This is not the final texture yet because it's not procedural, but I have already planned a way to make this completely random with huge gaps that you can define in textures. And probably the latest thing that you do with this solution is using virtual textures, because then you can have a lot more variation, and when they're really far, so if I pick this actor here instead of 5, let's say 9 million, type F, that not fair enough. $19. And so you will start to see the repetitions going on, like this pitch here is the same as this one, it is the same as this one. So because why this? Because the textures it defines the cloud shape is quite small. It is currently 128 pixels. Okay, yeah, just like that. So you can have this larger, it will bring some impact for the performance, but since it is quite small, it's like easy for us to generate it randomly and use an algorithm that makes like the using the real world position offset, so you can have a different portion of texture behaving differently depending on the where it is positioned along the world space position. And we have a way to add petapixels, so you can not see seams for the noise. And you also have several controls that I can show from the ground, just to sky seasons also have the planetary radius and atmospheric thickness. So if I type F, this outer sphere is the sky seasons. It is not necessary if you are using the real sky atmosphere. The planet you see now in yellow is this, and the Cloudscape viewer has the same size as the sky seasons. Cloudscape season, there is no representation here, but you guys can see now the solution is like really more effective. About the shapes, I have introduced some more parameters here with some real units to use, so you have now a way to change the altitude for the clouds, the thickness, okay, the cloud coverage, how many kilometers it represents. So it means that those 128 pixels is covering 92 kilometers. Is how big the detail is. It could be like even more, like all of that. So I am changing the scale now. When I have movement for the texture by the coordinates, you see that it is moving faster, so I have to adjust the wind speed for that. The detail amount is quite interesting. Detail amount can go both ways, so we can like add details. You can diminish the density if you don't want to see this darkening below the clouds, but this actually represents the new density the clouds now have with the amount of detail we are choosing. And we can have this. Of course, this is not enough shape, but when this value starts to become negative, you see that now the clouds have a very interesting shapes, and you can have the clouds bigger again if I give more coverage. So you like have this crispy edges here that make the clouds very interesting. We start to lose the cauliflower shapes at the bottom, but this you can recover if you add a second layer with the same parameters and make the detail back to for a detail that you have the cauliflower details like this. So when you mix, you will receive the crispy edges instead of these powdery edges, and you keep these cauliflower shapes that makes clouds look like clouds. So very important, the features that you have the infinite sky, because now the clouds can cover a planet, and this planet here, the best way to accomplish a planet is using voxels like the voxel plugin that Piranhas have added to the marketplace. There is a free version, but the pro version, it's totally worth to have it just for the drawing of the clouds around the planet, and there you can control the gravity in the way you want. I you make a map here with some flying over clouds, so you can fly and see the entire planet. I try to put some ocean here. I'm not making this too complicated because it's really I can't start placing unrelated things because the asset purpose is to be Cloudscape, is not to draw planets or draw oceans. So I have to keep in mind that the more complex is the things that I want to add, the less ability I give people who have purchased the asset to create their own solutions for these things and to not be attached or to be arrested by a solution that will not fit all the purposes. So if you want clouds, you have clouds. No matter if you are using just a square map like this or a big map like the ones I show, it are really large maps, and you still if you want to see place the clouds over a planet, you have this ability. And if you want to make the planet the size you want, you have the parameters to fulfill this. You just need to make these values for the sizes you think is viable for your project. And in the videos I tell what to avoid and during your development, so you will not be stuck with ideas or stuck with things that you don't know how to make to work. But in fact, this avoids a lot of troubles. It doesn't make you to go to further engine release, since you can still use this in we are here in 4.17. You can use all the way up to 4.25, and when you are using those upper engine releases, you can shift the data here that I have shown, so you will start to add better features that give more performance, like the texture 3D here, that are very powerful. It's at least 40% more performance, believe it or not. That's what it does. Sky atmosphere, it will give some performance back, better visuals, and you don't need to use sky seasons, but probably you need to find a way to show a moon, because the current sky atmosphere doesn't have a moon. But since the light that you be used as sun, you can place a sphere to act as a moon, and there's a sphere far away here that you can move like the opposite, always the opposite side as your light source. So you work as well. You cover this in the tutorials, but I think that is it. The same intention is to show how these things are up to now, and how big it is, because we still have the maps with the lightning and the rain and the snow that still need to be checked if everything is okay. There are the big maps that have thousands of kilometers wide, to see how they feel with the new cloud systems. So I have to check that as well. I have prepared the new for the raindrops into the water. As you can see here, there is a planar reflections here to show the clouds in the water. There will be a place with some glass so you can see the raindrops falling down the surface. And that's it. I think we are covered quickly everything as it is, so you guys can start to have ideas and how these things will work on the future of this project. Thank you everyone for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our Discord channel or YouTube, so you guys can always be on par of what is going on into developments of this, even in these days of pandemics. I really appreciate for the support. People has been still purchasing the asset, that they will really get some cool stuff on their hands soon. I know that I'm telling this soon enough, but life is really hard, and I hope that this will go over soon, that you'll find a cure for this current virus, that I can make the company run smoothly again. We are like months without receiving a single drop of money into our accounts, but because there is not much work out there, even for the effects artists like we are. And anyway, it gives us more time to work on things like this, so you guys can see that we are doing something. The asset is not completely stopped, so it has been. And we are also working on an ocean shader, also ray marshed, so let's see if this project can work well together and you can release them soon enough. And thank everyone for watching, and bye bye.